This next episode about physical intimacy peels back the layers of how we connect, touch, and communicate within our current family relationships. Explore with us the intricate dance of physical connection, consent, and emotional safety in family life. We hope you will enjoy these personal stories about how children perceive parental affection, as well as some strategies for teaching healthy consent. By the end of this conversation, we came away with new perspectives on creating a home culture of respect, love, and intentional physical connection. As we chase godlike sexuality in the home, we can allow physical intimacy to be the initial teacher of sex as a pathway to deep and intimate connection. Welcome to Fostering Godlike Sexuality at Home. Our goal here is to empower parents to teach their children to see sex in a godlike way.
My name is Brigham Elton. I'm a pornography and sexual addiction counselor who've helped thousands of people overcome even the appeal of pornography. And I'm hoping to get out in front of this and try to help parents to set up their homes to chase godlike sexuality from the beginning.
My name's Andrea, a mother of 4, and I'm learning alongside all you listeners and excited to have these discussions. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so in our last episode, we talked a little bit about how to have a conversation with your partner about like the culture you grew up in with physical intimacy, what that looked like, what it meant, what your perception of it was in your own home.
Totally.
And so as we move into this episode, we want to talk about how you can have these conversations, continue this conversation with what it might look like in your own home now.
Yeah.
Like, what do your kids perceive? What do different things mean to you and to your partner? And how are those the same? How are those different?
Yeah, again, the goal is to as you're aware of your culture, you gain power over that culture, right? And so I think you're going to see threads of your parental culture in your culture.
Current culture,
you know? And I'm going to try to point out when we go through this and I'm answering some of these questions about my home, is how did my culture sway
what you're doing
where we are now
currently. Yeah. Cool.
And I think that's really helpful to identify because, again, I think identified culture, you gain power over it when you identify it.
Yeah.
Right. But if it just exists behind your head, then I don't think that really does. So as we go through these questions, again, we'll send you these list of questions. We would love for this to be something you go over with your partner. Mm-hmm. But today, as you listen to these answers, just think about yourself and go through, and maybe our stories will help you dive a little bit deeper into what is your actual culture.
Yeah. What's meaningful to talk about.
Exactly.
Within it.
Let's start with you in your home. What is your current balance of public and private with physical intimacy? So
where is our line? What do we
right. And
share
maybe there's
publicly and privately?
All hugs are public, most kisses, I don't know. What's your balance with physical intimacy being public and private?
I think too, it kind of shifts with public in our home versus public in public, right?
Yeah.
And
I think both of those matter.
Yeah, I think that they do matter. I think in our home, we are more physically intimate in terms of we'll hold each other longer. We'll let our hands drop down on our butts or whatever while we're together holding or kissing. But that wouldn't really happen so much, I don't think, in public, outside of our home, right? But then just behind closed doors, obviously I think hands stay on our clothing, right? When our kids are around. Yeah. They don't go underneath our clothing. Totally. Or kissing, a long kiss will happen, but not a makeout that lasts more than 30 seconds. It's got rhythm,
right? And your bodies are rubbing into it.
Yeah. I think that when we're in front of our kids, because we've had some of these conversations before and trying to create some awareness, we are speaking more about what our physical intimacy means, right? So there's some verbalization about it. And that's a public thing too.
Yeah, when I think about our partnership, I would guess that honestly, maybe 70% of our kisses are in public. I would say it's mainly happening in public, you know, in our home public, you know?
Yeah.
And outside our home, I don't think it's honestly for us. I don't know how much different our boundary really is, you know? Also, we make a conscious effort when we notice our kids notice us to ignore them. This is our moment, you know?
Okay.
And like I don't really want to be very interrupted from it. Now, once we finish, we'll talk to them and be like, oh yeah, I just love your mom, you
Yeah.
know? But like we want that, like we try to like not let that sway us, you know?
Yeah.
That like we've decided what we want to be public in our home, and we want that to be really like that's an important part for us.
Yeah.
Right. Like as far as like cuddling and holding, like we actually sometimes even have rules that like, okay, during this movie, no one's allowed in between mom and I.
Oh, okay.
Like you can come and cuddle because we really family cuddle. Like all of
Yeah.
our kids are prepubescent, which honestly, I don't know if that's going to make a difference, but right now they're all prepubescent. And so like
Yeah.
we all cuddle.
Cuddle,
In fact,
yeah.
almost every morning, everyone's in my bed,
Uh-huh.
you know? And like sometimes I'll choose to go back up into bed or I'll stay in bed. And I'm like, we're all in this cuddle mess,
Yeah.
you know? And it's awesome.
A puppy
you know?
pile.
Yeah. And like but we do sometimes have these like boundaries, like this is me and mom's time, and you're welcome to like be on the side, but like this is our thing.
Yeah.
You know. Now, like with some like sexual touch, like a butt tap, or like sometimes my like it'll be able to do like the sound, you know, or like there'll be a kiss, and then it'll have like this like taste of like this could heat up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like this
a little bit more
evidence
passion.
of like, hey, I'm a little hot for you, you know? And then like we'll purposely be done, you know? But like we have this like taste of heat.
Yeah.
Does that make
that you're
sense?
communicating.
That we're communicating, and we do that in public.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's an important part of our relationship. I want our children to feel that heat a little bit from us.
Yeah.
That like that exists.
Totally.
Right? Do they need to witness it? No, but do I want them to know it exists and see it exist? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you think your kids think when you and your wife kiss?
I think my daughter thinks I want that.
Okay.
I think my 7-year-old daughter thinks I want that one day.
Like that she wants that.
Yeah, she wants
Okay.
that one day. I think my next daughter thinks that that's what people do when they're married,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I think that's common.
I think my other daughter thinks like, what are you doing to my mom? Like, I want to be the one holding her, not you. You know, like my little 2-year-old's a little envious and is like, get out of here. I'm fighting you. You know, the other day, my daughters came and got in the bed with us in the morning, and my daughter Eden, who's 2, sits up and goes, get out of our bed.
Like you didn't belong.
My gosh. Our bed, Eden, our bed. You get out of our bed. Your bed's over there, you know? And so, but just, yeah, that's kind of her mindset. But I know based on studies and like I see it happen that every time my kids see us kiss, they feel a little safer in our home.
Totally.
That like, you know what? My mom loves my dad and I'm safe here.
Yeah, they're connected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
What about you? Like, what do you think your kids think? Because your kids are mainly
Post-pubescent, a little bit.
Yeah.
Puberty and post-puberty.
Yeah.
What do they think when we kiss? I know my daughter thinks like, I want that someday. She says that, you know, like
That's awesome.
I can't wait for somebody to love me like that.
Yeah, that's the best.
I don't know that like all teenage girls would like verbally express that, but I think it's what they're thinking oftentimes, right?
I think it is.
Especially if it's communicated that like both partners want that and that it's like a chosen part of the relationship.
Totally.
I think my son thinks like my 13-year-old is probably like, am I going to want that someday?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I will. This is a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
And then like my older son is like, yeah, that's good. I think he thinks like, oh, that's good. Yeah. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about like, do they think you both want it? Like, do you think that they think like, oh yeah, they both are chasing this?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, like when I think about like, I guess I might have a little bit of scar from my parents, right?
Right.
Where I've got this, like, it felt like my dad was always seeking it. My mom was always like a little bit secondary.
Guarding it, maybe.
Yeah. And like, because my dad was the one to depart and arrive, that almost always meant like some type of touch sometimes.
Okay.
You know, like actually that wasn't even really true, but in my head it was, you know? And so like for me, because I am the leaver and the arriver, right? Like I initiate a kiss before I go. And as soon as I come in, I'm going to my wife.
Yeah.
You know, which I do think is important, but that gives me 2 initiated kisses that my kids notice every day. And like, is my wife getting some of those? Like, is she
getting the
kisses
initiated?
That like my kids are going, oh, she is seeking this.
Yeah.
Not just him. And I'm sensitive to that. And so like it's a constant conversation in our partnership. As I'm just like, hey, I think it's important that like, and this is more work for you because for me, mine are built in.
Right.
And everyone in the home notices that dad came home.
Yeah.
You know, because the dogs start barking like crazy, let alone
Yeah.
if they wouldn't notice it anyway, you know, and like mine are being noticed. I think it's important that like you speak about it and seek it in their presence because I want them to believe that you want it too,
Yeah.
that it's not something that dad is just taking. And I'm sensitive about that is the truth. Like I like probably push on a little more than I need to.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
I think my wife is not the best at initiating. She is awesome at speaking it. Where she's like, this is my moment with
like
dad.
appreciating it or
right. Like we'll all come home and I'll give him a kiss or I'm like, or her a kiss or I'm like, I'm leaving to work and I'm like, hey, and like she'll take the kid off of her lap, get up and kiss me. And the kid's like, hey, wow, we're reading a book. And she's like, this is my moment with dad.
Yeah.
And like, I think she is phenomenal at speaking it. Which I think is honestly enough. Like as I professionally look at it, I think like she doesn't really need to initiate that much. Like it's fine if it's 80-20, like it's fine.
Right.
You know, but
because like your kids aren't getting the message that she doesn't want it or that she's having to give it, but that like she wants to give it, even if you're the one initiating it.
But even admitting that right now is hard for me because I'm like, I'm still a little scarred and I'm like, I
don't know.
think that balance needs to exist, you know, and I'm like, I do not want my kids walking away with what I walked away with of this, like dad wants it, mom gives it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Do they like notice, do you think your kids notice when like that energy shifts? You know, when there's like that physical intimacy that goes from physical intimacy, I love you, to like physical intimacy, I want you, sexually connection wise.
I think that there's a chance that they do, but I also think like in those moments, like you kind of spoke about how like you kind of tune your kids out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think we kind of tune our kids out.
Yeah, because otherwise you're not getting to the heat if your kids are in your head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do your kids ever like speak that to you at all that they notice or like what was that? Or do they ever like notice that a kiss is different or like does that not really happen?
I think, I mean, one of the things my kids notice is like when a door is locked, when our bedroom's door is locked and like and it's not like a, hey, let me come in. It's like a door handle shift. It's late at night. Oh, wait, I'm going to leave. You know, like that's them noticing that this
is our private
something
time.
There. Yeah.
Which is great. Like that's a great speak to that like, hey, this is a part of us. Yeah.
That they believe that it's happening.
Yeah.
Because they're walking away and not like asking to come in. Right.
Yeah. Otherwise they'd be like, hey, why is the door locked? And they try to say something to you. They're like, oh, I know why it's locked. This is their space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is so healthy.
So cool.
You know, that locked door is a great teacher of like, this is a part of our relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's important.
I agree.
For them to believe that sex is part of your relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
How about you? Do your kids notice when it's different? Do you think?
I think my kids might notice that it shifted, but I don't think they have any clue why yet.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think they understand that energy shift is a sexual thing. You know? Yeah. I'm excited to teach them that.
Yeah.
You know, like as I'm thinking about, I'm like, oh man, when could I teach that to my daughter? I'm like trying to think of the earliest time that like I could teach that to my 7-year-old.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think too, like my kids pick it up in the media. Like we talk about it more and converse about it more with media when it happens in the media. So then I think that when it happens between the two of us, if they're around or whichever kids are around, that they're linking the conversation, the teaching conversation with like, this means something more.
Because again, I think that's important. Like, most of us, we talked about this in the beginning of our last episode, right? Where like physical intimacy connection is the way that sexual connection is taught. You know, like there is this like talk about sex and that sex is a connector, but like the physical intimacy that's shown in media is what's showing as the connector.
Yeah.
Right. It's not actually like showing sex as the connector.
Right.
You know? And so it's natural for your kids to like learn about sex, the connector, via physical intimacy.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
What about with like your kids, like if they're wanting like a hug or to be held or they feel like, I don't know, like a desire to physically connect, like who do your kids typically go to? Siblings, parents, friends?
I would say that they go to us as parents. Like my daughter seeks it a lot from my husband and she always has, like she's always been like, she would always go to grandpa or dad or uncles before females. My sons, they come to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Like they would seek it from me. And I feel like we actually actively have to push, like with our youngest especially, there's, I think like that umbilical cord is like really, really thick. And like we have to actively be like, oh, dad can help you with that too. Like if there's like physical intimacy involved, and it kind of goes back to what my husband's culture was like there wasn't a lot of child touch. And so that has been hard for him to implement with our own kids.
Unnatural.
And establish that like pattern.
Yeah.
Except
totally.
for with my daughter, because she's naturally sought out. And I feel like he has like recognized like, oh, that matters a lot for her, especially, and tried to be that for
Which
her.
is a consistent pattern of like the dads and the daughters have a really heavy thing. My kids are so young, like they all go to mom first.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, I think that's a big part of like having a breastfeeding connection. I think it's a part of like we are co-sleepers. I think that's part of it too, you know. Like I think they all go to mom, and then honestly they go to each other a lot. Like when my kids are upset, like they'll sometimes even like give one like a 1 second hug to an adult and then go seek a sister and be like, I need a hug from you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so like it really is pretty universal. But when they're in public settings with like friends and stuff, it is for sure sibling. Like it would go parent 1, sibling 2, friends at like a very distant third.
Yeah. I have noticed too, like during puberty, it kind of like between siblings, it gets weird and like breaks off. But then like my older 2, they will give hugs to each other, like to be like, hey, I'm leaving. See ya. Love you. And like they'll actually give each other just like a hug goodbye, or hey, good to see you, or you did a great job at your performance. Where like during puberty, I feel like my younger boys that are in that's still a little bit like, I don't know if they're
uncomfortable in their own body.
Want that. With my sibling.
Totally. Like when your partner initiates a kiss with you, like what kind of things run through your head, mind, emotions?
I think, he's thinking about me. Emotionally, I feel like it kind of depends on the kiss, right? Like there's the feeling of like being noticed, and also the feeling of being wanted or desired. You know, feeling of being like loved or like safe or trusted. Like if he's coming to me because it seems like he needs something emotionally, right? Then all of a sudden I feel like, I matter to him, that like he trusts me with himself. Or it's like, I can trust him because he's like being that more protector role or provider role.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How about you?
This is sad a little in my head now, noticing it, just saying it to you.
Okay.
I'm surprised every time. And like, I don't think it's rare, but like, I think partially again, my parent role. Yeah. Right. That like when my wife initiates with something to me, I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? And I'm like, my brain goes like, where is this coming from? You know? And I like kind of question it a little bit, you know? And I think it's just like the residue of this parental, like wives don't seek that. Like that's just a husband sought thing. Like wives give it, but when they have to, kind of.
So when you like, when she does seek it, then your thought is just kind of like, why? What does this mean?
Wait, what's going on? What's like, wait, what? Why is this happening? What's going on? And then like that lasts for 30 seconds and I'm like, all right. And then I settle. Yeah. You know? But like my first reaction is that culture of mine still. Yeah. You know? And that's kind of, I guess, what my reaction is. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You spoke a little bit about your current depart and reunite patterns already. Like for us, that's a little bit different with my husband works from home. Okay. Full time. Yeah. And when he didn't, that was a little bit more patternistic. Yeah. But even then, thinking back on it, it's interesting because I grew up in this home where like that was a really major big thing. Like there were these patterns. And like the one pattern we do have is like after we pray together, we kiss. But other than that, like...
And together means as a family, or is just the
two of you? Just the two of us. Okay. Like when the two of us pray together, we kiss. And then, but like when he starts work or like it comes down for lunch or is done working, like it's fluid. It's not like this big shift in our home anymore. And so there's not as much pattern to it. And we do have to like put some intentionality behind it. And it makes it kind of unpredictable, which I don't know what I think about that, but
sometimes like the unpredictable can be powerful, you know, but sometimes like, I don't know, maybe we wish we had patterns to it. You know, like our family, I don't know, after we do family prayers, we all hold hands when we pray most of the time.
I love that.
And then after we do family prayers, we do a family cheer next. We go like, go Eltons, which is kind of fun. Oh yeah. And then we're like, sometimes, like just randomly, I did it once, and my kids latched onto it, and I was like, "Everyone hug mom," and then everyone like hugs mom, and everyone hugs so and so, and we just like went through them. Everyone touched the baby, and we'll all touch my wife's belly who's pregnant. And my kids are obsessed with it. So now, as soon as after we do the cheer, my youngest daughter, my 2-year-old, will yell, "Everyone hug," and then she'll yell someone, and then we all, And sometimes that pattern is awesome.
Yeah.
But that hug is different.
Yeah.
Than a spontaneous hug.
Right.
Like,
so there's place for both of them. They both speak something.
Totally.
I had, I was looking at a family friend. They have like their chore chart for their kids or whatever. And their kids are young. But on that was like, give mom and dad a hug. And then like give a sibling a hug.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. And like creating an idea that like this pattern can exist and that it can be something predictable. But you're right. Like those do speak different things.
Yeah. Which is great. And it's good that they speak different things in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, what does it mean to you when your wife like lengthens a hug into more of like a hold?
Oh, she needs me. She thinks I need her. Like we need each other. We're a unit. Like I'm with you. Like honestly, like sometimes it's just like I'm with you. Sometimes I just like my whole body. Like honestly, there's not really a thought to it, but like my whole body does the sigh, right? Just
relax,
this like. And like my whole body will fall into it, and honestly my brain slows down. Like there's like some like studies about 10-second hugs, and man, I'm a believer. Like I just think that like those like just being held like relax the body, and it's different than a hug. Like a hug is sometimes like, okay, see ya, but like I would never hold someone really who's not in my family or not like gave blood to me. Right. Like otherwise, like I don't think I really would like hug like that, And so I think there's a lot of power
in that for sure. Yeah. I think of like those moments is like, oh, I don't want to leave. Like I want to stay here. I want to be with you.
Yeah, totally.
That's kind of what comes into my mind. Or like everything's okay, which speaks to like that feeling you were saying with the body sigh, right? Like it's like whatever's stressful or worrisome or emotional, like everything's actually okay here in this moment.
I love that. Yeah, I love it. Honestly, I think that's so awesome. What does like consent look like in your home? Like as you try to like help kids learn that like, touch is important, but chosen touch is important. Like what are some of your patterns of trying to handle that?
I think that like our approach to like really teaching intentionally that consent pattern is probably different than a lot of like more intentional parents now, like younger parents now. Like I feel like that wasn't as big of a conversation when I was raising little kids, right? And so I want to say it was probably when my oldest was maybe like 9 or 10 that was like, oh, hey, like we need to pause and like address this more intentionally. And those things are kind of hard to shift at that later time, right? Totally. And so it's like verbally taught and like, I don't know, I'm not necessarily the best parent at like actually enforcing boundaries. And I think you will probably be able to speak to that really well, but like it's something that we talk about. It's something that like when we notice moments where that's not being respected, then we try to teach it, which isn't the best time to teach it is like in those moments.
Yeah. And honestly, it's a hard pattern, like.
And I think the biggest shift has been like for me or my husband to practice it more intentionally when we would initiate touch or like tickling or wrestling or holding with our own kids. And like we realized like, hey, we need to teach consent better. Then we thought like, well, we need to model it better. Yeah. And I think that modeling has been probably our best tool. Yeah. Teaching it where we were at in our family.
Totally. As I go and teach this at like classes and schools and things like that, there really is like a push to do verbal consent.
Yeah.
You know, like that's like a really big thing that like government, honestly, a lot of people are trying to push it. And I understand it, honestly. Yeah. And so like this has become a conscious effort in my home to like demonstrate verbal consent.
Yeah, I love that.
Like if my daughters see verbal consent over and over and over again, then I think it will decrease the awkwardness, you know? And one thing I've learned that makes like participatory consent more like comfortable is
versus verbal, like participatory meaning like you just keep engaging.
Yeah, or you lean in, or like I raise my hand up for a high five, that's and participatory. And then they reach too, that would be participatory consent. What I think which makes participatory consent more comfortable is that it's said with confidence. Like when I raise my hand to give someone a high five, I'm saying like, "Hey, I want to high five you," and it's not this like, "Oh, do you want to?" You know, but it's just like, "I want to. Do you want to join me?"
Yeah.
You know, and like I think that can show up in our verbal. Like I've learned that it's way more comfortable instead of me saying like, "Hey, would you like a kiss?"
Yeah.
You know, or like, "Will you kiss me?" Like I think to say like, I want to kiss you." You know, like I think that comes off with more confidence. It's more natural. And I think it's more attractive to my partner is the truth.
Totally.
And so like I've learned to say that. And honestly, I get a myriad of responses. Sometimes it's like, I want to kiss you too after I'm done with the dishes. Or I want to kiss you too, but I'm not available. Or I want to kiss you too. And they come over. Or sometimes just I come over and kiss you, you know? And it's not like every single kiss are we doing verbal consent. There's some that are participatory.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I want my kids to see that
pattern.
That like, yeah, like, and I say to my daughter, like, I want to give you a hug, you know, let me know when you're available.
Yeah.
You know, or it's like, I want to give you a hug if you would like to, you know?
Cool.
And like, but I think that self-declaration is a pattern I want in my home. And we make a lot of effort. I make a lot of efforts to have that be in my home.
That's cool. Do you see your kids that show up in how your kids interact?
Yeah, like kids they're impulsive. They make like the touch decisions right away, right? We were dancing, they're having a dance party in our house, and my 4-year-old will grab my 2-year-old, and she waits till after she grabs her, but then after she grabs her, she says, "Can I pick you up?" And then my other daughter goes, "Yes," and then she picks her up, right? And so like they are learning these principles of getting verbal consent. It is always 1 second later than it should be, in my opinion.
Sure.
You know? But like they're
learning. They're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
it's happening.
And I understand it. And it's a safe place for them to learn that. You know? Where it's like, hey, there is space for this learning.
Yeah.
You know? Consent has been a focus of our home. And honestly, like I feel like I could talk for 30 minutes about consent, you know, and like the efforts that we've made. But I have this story that like really speaks to me of like the importance of consent and also the reward of consent.
Okay.
You know, my daughter was born and is the first grandkid actually on both sides, you know, and like this is my job. And so I think about it a lot, you know, and I know that like there's a pattern of grandparents in particular, just like going and picking up kids and not asking.
Yeah.
And they don't like get consent. They just like kind of take. You know, and like as an outsider, I'm sitting there going like, what if I did that to you? Like I'm bigger than you. What if I just came up and picked you up? Like, how would you feel about that?
Yeah.
You know, and like that was something that I wanted to hedge. So I spoke with all 6 of grandparents for us because of divorced parents that like, hey, like I would really appreciate it if you gave our kids space and put your arms out and let them come to you.
Let them choose.
And like if they choose not to hug you, I know that sucks, but like it'll mean so much more when they do. You know. My mom's husband, he provides a lot for our family. He takes us on a vacation. He's like so giving to us. He like is such an awesome human. Yeah. Like honestly, like an amazing human and gives us a lot, you know? And like their pattern is in their home is that like everyone, when they leaves, they go and give him a hug and say, thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know? And like, we're the first grandkid. And I like was like, no,
we're not doing that.
Like, and he's kind of a little like construction gruff, you know,
Okay.
He's really softened actually, which is kind of cute.
Yeah.
But he is kind of construction gruff. Right. And so like my daughter was a little intimidated by him. Right. And went, I don't know, maybe a year, no hugs. None. Would give a hug to my mom, his wife, not him. And he gave her space. And I'm so appreciative of this. Like gave her space. One random time, she gives my mom a hug, and then he's like a couple steps away, and she sees him and just goes like, "Poppy," and runs and dives into this guy's arms. And that guy became a puddle. Like seriously, like it was just such an amazing moment to let it be chosen.
Yeah.
You know? And intimacy means so much more when it's chosen. You know, and I just like, I want that to be a principle in my home. And so we do everything we can to like let there be choice with our intimacy and like choose each other, because it makes intimacy so much better. You know, like I don't want to have sex with my wife if she doesn't want to choose me.
Right.
You know, like I want someone who chooses me.
Awesome. I love that.
Next, let's go to, do you have like home established physical intimacy boundaries with dating? Like, are you as a home dictating, hey, this is what your physical intimacy boundaries should be when you date?
We haven't established that really. We haven't we haven't felt like we needed to cross that bridge yet. And I sometimes like to give it space so that like when we are there, I can sense like, what do I feel like we need in that moment as a parent, you know? Sometimes
so it's quite liquid for the kid.
It's liquid right now. Yeah. And I feel like we have established with friends, like doors stay open, right? And that would extend to dates or girlfriends or boyfriends or whoever else you're bringing home, that like doors stay open.
Yeah.
And conversations can be heard in passing.
I love that. That's even a rule for our home too.
Yeah.
No shutting doors.
Yeah.
Like we hear a door shut, no shutting doors.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll get up and go.
Yep.
I think that's a great boundary. Yeah. Like I don't think I wouldn't recommend to parents establishing physical intimacy boundaries for your kids. Yeah. You know? Because then whose boundary is it?
Yeah, it's yours.
It's yours.
And when your kid is at that stage, like you want them to be speaking what their values are and what boundaries they want to hold. That's going to be so powerful.
Now, I would very highly recommend helping your kid establish a boundary prior to dating in your presence.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And it's like, you know what? My recommendation to you is don't change this within 24 hours of doing it with someone.
Don't change.
Like if you decide, like if let's say they set the boundary of, I only want to make out with someone if I'm standing up.
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
I see what you mean. Uh-huh.
Don't change that boundary unless it's been 24 hours.
Love
like,
that.
Change it. And if 24 hours later you still want to do it, great. But I wouldn't change it in a moment.
In a moment, right?
And that would be, again, advice. Like, I'm not like dictating this for you, but this is my advice. And like, yeah, I think that's powerful for a kid to believe that you believe in them.
Totally.
You know, like I think your parents believed that you believed in them.
Yeah.
Like you believe that they believed in you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Which matters, right?
Totally.
Because I want my kid to know, like, I'm not responsible for your sexual choices.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I want to help you. But I'm not, if you choose to have sex with someone, I'm not beating myself up for that.
That it was my fault that I didn't establish the right boundaries. Yeah. No, I think that's like, so true.
Okay, you chose this. How do you feel about that choice? Yeah. I want to support and celebrate you.
Yeah.
Like if you felt like this was a great choice, great.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. Can I help?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think like if as a parent you have concerns about your kids, like, oh, are they going to be bringing a girlfriend home during school while we're gone or something? Like, are they going to, like, those are then conversations that you have to be able to have with your kid and communicate, help them speak their values.
Yeah.
Because if you are just simply laying down the law, like, hey, if we're gone, then you're not allowed to bring a girl over to the house or a guy over to the house.
Totally.
Then like we are just leaving the door open for them to just break through that and do what they want anyway without having
and then blame you
and
for like your boundary not being good enough.
Sure.
You know? And so like obviously it's like you talk about this with your partner and evaluate your culture at home. Like this is our opinion.
Yeah.
You know? But I see a lot of danger in it being a parent boundary instead of a kid boundary.
Yeah, especially at that age where they are dating.
Yeah, especially when we're looking 16 plus. You know? Like there may be more monitoring going on when they're younger, you know? But like this is the chance for your kids to fail with your support.
Yeah, totally.
You know? And like it's okay if they fail. Like they'll learn.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And if we've established like a setting where like hiding doesn't appeal as much, which if we just lay down a boundary and like they haven't been part of establishing that boundary for themselves, then that's when hiding happens, right?
Yeah.
And
it has more appeal than it already has.
Exactly.
Because hiding as hard as it is.
Yeah.
You want to make it harder.
Yeah. Awesome. These are super cool questions to go through with your partner and to like start just becoming more aware of the culture that you're creating in your home and in your family.
Like it?
And do you like it?
And
do you
how
want
do you
it to shift?
it? Yeah.
And like, how can we shift it depending on where our kids are at and what stage of development we're at? And like, if you look back and you think, oh man, there's things I wish I would have done. Like, I totally get you. Like I am there on that, like wishing that I had done certain things different. Like I am definitely in that stage, but we can speak to those and we can then like model things differently and we can just trust that like they'll continue to learn. Like they've got more time.
Because what an awesome thing you're teaching to kids when you teach them that like change is a part of life.
Right.
You know? And like as you say, hey, we did this. I wish we would have done this differently. I'm going to try to change. Like, can you help me? Or like, let's do it together. Or like watch for this, you know? And then what a great thing for a child to witness that like, you know, no matter what, you can change and be better. And like, that is the stinking gospel.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I want to hit this last, well, maybe not last, but I want to hit one more question. What is your children's touch pattern with friends? Like, what does that look like with, your older kids? Like, what is their relationship with touch in your home with friends?
Like it's all playful.
Okay.
right? Like it's
Like wrestling
friends.
playful, or like kind of like tickle playful, or like kind of punch, like ha ha.
I would say like my older kids, it's like punch, wrestle, like sportsy,
Okay.
kind of playful, like that kind of thing. With my younger kids, I mean, my youngest is 10, but I would say even now, like he's not like tickling with his friends really.
Yeah.
Like there's just not that.
Is there like greeting or departure touch, or no?
Not really.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Cool. Yeah, like when I think about my kids, like I think touch is a huge part.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have all girls, and I think that's also like I think
matters.
touch
Yeah.
exists longer for women.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But like hugging is part of their play. Like come with me, hold hands is a big part of their play. Like yeah, for sure, hug, departure, and arrive. Like that's a thing, you know.
Yeah, and my daughter is more like she will hug friends and like side hug, front hug, like that is more of her culture.
Yeah, and they're using comfort hug too. Like I see comfort hug is a touch in that exists with my friends, and with their friends. Like when I see them with their friends, and honestly, like I try to celebrate all those.
Yeah.
It's like oh my gosh,
cool.
like that was so awesome of you to give her this like physical I'm there for you.
Yeah.
When she was sad.
Totally.
You know, it's like, isn't it awesome to like give your like, or isn't it hard when your friend chooses not to give you a hug when they leave?
Yeah.
You know, and like even
celebrating that like they respected that with their friend, but like acknowledging where that was hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And because we want that culture to exist of like touch is chosen, but is an awesome tool to connect.
Awesome. I love that. I love that, speaking to their touch with others.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this discussion today. We hope it was valuable for you and your families. Our website, trueconnectionsrecovery.com, has a bunch of resources that you can access to get support from us.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways we're trying to help individuals, right? Whether it's through like individual recovery, like partner support, even like parental support, like how can I set my home up as a place for success?
Yep. We will be putting like technology management resources, other educational tools, or like workshops that might be up and coming in the area.
Just trying to provide ways for like families to feel supported, right? And so all of that you can find there on that website.
The more that this gets shared, and like as you talk about it with others that you know, like the discussions kind of flow, and we can all grow in this area together.
Yeah, we really succeed as a community.
Yep.
Thank you.